Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Nolan.
You're next. We're going to get two more. I can make it fast.
Okay. Hello, Mr. Nolan. Okay, Mandy here. And you played many unique personalities throughout your impressive career. What was something you learned from a character you played?
Something I learned?
From a character you played, yes.
I did Blaze and the Monster Machines for Nickelodeon.
I remember that.
And I learned that centripetal force and centrifugal force are two very different things. I wish. Go ahead. Yeah.
So, of all the different characters that you've done voices for, which one would you say you had the most fun with, where you could just kind of cut loose and put a little bit more of you into the role?
This is going to be weird. So Nathan Drake is me. That's my favorite role I've ever played. I got to be me. I got to be the lead of something. I learned so much as an actor with these other actors. It's all with other people. It's like doing theater, like I said before. Amazing. But if I'm just talking sitting in a booth and going crazy on a microphone, there's nothing better than Deadpool. Because they would write amazing stuff, and my brain, which I did a lot of improv stuff in my past, and it was like, he can say and do anything, and there's no repercussions. And it's one of my favorite roles. In fact, when we did Hulk vs. Wolverine, the first time I did it, I'd been doing Wolverine and the X-Men for the same producers. I was Cyclops. And they came to me, they said, we did this movie. We had a Canadian actor, I don't know who it was, not Ryan. And he's great, but we don't think he's quite Deadpool. I'm like, okay. He said, you know Deadpool? I'm like, absolutely. Do you know how you always say things between takes that will get us all canceled or fired? I'm like, yeah. He said, we think that's Deadpool. They brought me into the studio, told me the premise, everything. They had a monitor up. They said, the film's done, we're going to show you some scenes. All right, let's get started. I'm like, where's the script? They said, well, this is the fun part. We're going to show you this scene with no audio. We've taken Deadpool's audio. Make it up. So I mean, they would feed me some lines. The writers would feed some lines, but I just made stuff up. And the entire movie is just like me, just off the top of my head. And I said, that's crazy. And they go, that's Deadpool. So I feel this kind of kinship to that. And he can say anything in any situation. And you could be a very serious moment, and he just break that fourth wall, which is brilliant. Just be like, this is going well, isn't it? And then, and then back, it just, every time I have a Deadpool session, the thing is, what I try to do is do it as whatever lines they may have, but then anything that comes to mind. Hey, can we try this? And throw that out there. Inevitably, many of those things end up. And we did the similar thing with Nathan Drake. All mocap, but then there'd be days where you have to do in-game lines. And, and what it was, we called it panning for gold, and chasing the picture, because what they would do, they'd have a developer run through a level, and I would just watch it. And let's say it's Sully's with me. So Richard McGonigal would be sitting there, and we would they'd have a couple lines written, like, I think it's up there. Sully, this way. And you have some lines like, and then Sully's climbing. I'm like, you got a great ass, Sully. And everyone would laugh, but you just make, and I love, there's a famous one in Uncharted 3, run through a chateau. Through here, follow me. Hey, popcorn machine. And I just, because it looked like a popcorn machine to me. And that's in the game. And I love meeting fans who say, I'm playing and I see something, and in my head I'm like, hey, that looks like, and you say popcorn machine. It's crazy, you say things, and I hear that from a lot of people. I'm like, yeah, because I was saying it like if I was just, remember Mystery Science Theater 3000?
Oh, yeah.
They were just that's what it was kind of, and now they didn't use everything, but they used certain things in it, and it worked, because it made, the best thing about Nathan Drake is he's all of us. He's just a guy, my favorite part, Drake's Fortune, One Ordinary Man, One Extraordinary Adventure was the title, was on the box. And it made us, that's why I think it's become such a thing with men and women and young and old. It's just, he's trying his best just to get through the day, you know. And what was great is he didn't get the treasure at the end. You know, Sully, I got, you know, just enough to keep them afloat. He never got the big score, and he destroyed cities along the way. I mean, it's just, you know, I think there's a kinship we all feel with him. It's the same way with Bruce Willis in Die Hard or Indiana Jones. You know, I remember doing the thing where I had to hit somebody, and I did this big hit. And I was like this, and I went yeah, and everyone kind of laughed. And Amy Hennig, our creator, she said, I like that. I said, have you ever punched anyone? She goes, no. I said, I have. I've been in fights. I almost broke my hand when I hit some guy. I almost knocked this dude out. It was just this big stupid fight in college or whatever. It hurts. I said, you know, enough of these big game heroes, you know, hit him, like, yeah, take that. It was like, you know, running off. He's like, come on, Nate, we gotta get out of here. Yeah, find some ice. You know, things like that just would be, and I think people just kind of, you know, as evidenced by its success, I think people were drawn to that kind of thing. And it was, but it's not just me. It was everyone at Naughty Dog. It was Amy Hennig. That came out of her head. She gets all the credit in the world for it. The other actors, the artists, the programmers, they had to make all those dots come to life. In the first 3 games, there was no facial capture. And there was a guy, Eric Baldwin, I remember his name. He was in charge of facial animation. Just every time I was like, you know, if I'm sitting there going, yeah, he would make my face do that. And it just, I told my wife about it. She goes, that guy knows your face better than I do. Then I left her for Eric. Didn't work out though, because he's a guy. And I was like, oh, gross. So no, but it was a honor to play him. I'm constantly I'm meeting people who are now bringing their 12, 13-year-old kids now dressed like Drake, and it's like they met me in 2009 or whatever when they were dressed like Drake, and it's just that role. But I love coming down here, and I'm Rick Tofin. I've never played Uncharted. Great. I like Deadpool. I like this. I like that. You know, it's just so much fun to do what I get to do, and I just hope they keep letting me do it. My big goal when I became an actor is like, don't ever serve food again. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but this is better. That said, both my kids are now waiters because they want to.